Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we continue our work. Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we continue our work. And now we are going to discuss how pyrotechnics demine Kherson, Donetsk Oblast. Our speakers are Maryna Martynenko and Oleksandr Slobodianiuk. Maryna, let's start with you. How many pyrotechnics are involved in demining Kherson and Donetsk Oblast? And I know that several months ago you announced vacancies, the sappers. I would like to start with the fact that we are covering not only Donetsk and Kherson Oblast. Since April last year, pyrotechnics from Odesa have been involved in demining Mykolaiv, Donetsk, Kherson Oblast. The rotation is ongoing. Some pyrotechnics work in the occupied areas, others work here in Odesa Oblast, and our experts work on duties, on shifts, and there is rotation. 17 pyrotechnics from Odesa are involved in activities in Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Kherson regions. In just a month and a half, there is the period of rotation. And then they come back to Odessa. And do they have some vacation? Not always. So the vacation is envisaged once per year. And when we announced vacancies of pyrotechnicians, we also informed that we offer rehabilitation once a year in Odessa on the Black Sea coast. This rehabilitation is provided free of charge, so they can continue work, they can have a vacation or rehabilitation. A lot of pyrotechnicians, they continue their work after arriving from the mentioned regions. Remember that there are always challenges when explosives are found from previous wars. And just 2-3 times a week, we receive information about such explosive devices. In summer, we worked a lot on the coastline of the Black Sea, especially when it was announced that the beaches would be opened, and our pyrotechnicians had to check everything to ensure safe recreation. And then after explosion at Kakhovka HPP dam, a lot of dangerous objects were brought to our coastline by water, and we also worked with that. So there is a lot of tasks not only on the occupied territories of Ukraine, but in other regions, including Odessa region. So we cannot say that all pyrotechnicians went there to work. A lot of people are still here because we have a lot of work to do here. The question about mining the Black Sea water area. How many mines have been found during this summer? We have a bit different data from the information provided by other services, because other forces they have their own pyrotechnicians, and people can refer to our service, State Emergency Service of Ukraine, or they can also refer to the police units. There were also cases when there were self-detonation of explosive devices in the Black Sea. We can say that there were around 12-14 cases. Have there been tragic cases? Luckily, no. A citizen from one of the coastline villages found an object that resembled gas ballon. And it really looked like one, that was kind of a gas pack, but then he understood that that gas cylinder was was dangerous, and that was a good case. Because there could be different consequences of touching these objects, and in that case, the person was lucky. Their small mind, which is very difficult to notice, especially in water, so-called petal mines. And we have not had such cases in our region, as far as I know, but our colleagues from other regions, from Mykolaiv region, they have seen such cases, and especially when they had some seaweeds, some waste from the sea, and there were petal mines concealed there. The coastline was not officially opened, but there were a lot of people anyway, and children, they just played around with the seaweeds and the waste, and they were in danger. Let's come back to demining of the Kherson and Donetsk regions. Oleksandr, can you say us what places are most dangerous when it comes to the quantity of Russian mines? We can say that there are some different places with different levels of danger. According to my experience, explosive devices can be found anywhere, regardless of whether they are very active combats or not. They are always there, and they have been put there just to deal not only with the military but with the civilians. So danger is everywhere, in houses, in apartments, in forest lines, on roads. So we can find them anywhere. I know that, if I'm not mistaken, you told about that, Maryna. Mine was found in a washing machine, yes, in a notebook, in children toys, the kindergartens, nurses in schools were mined, on the playgrounds. And our pyrotechnicians told us that they saw such apartments, such houses where microwave ovens, lamps, furniture were mined. So they used everything to mine. And this just proves once again that there are no limits for the Russian occupiers. And according to my experience, we can see mines everywhere. We work together with gas supply services, power supply services, and we check territories, houses, the electricity lines. So first we check, then everything can be restored, all the supplies, and some people, they have spent without electricity for more than a year. And during one of my rotation, we worked together with the electricians. We checked everything, the power supply was restored, and people were very thankful because they had spent more than 1 year without electricity. When we come to different places, we see the people there in those difficult conditions, and we can see that they're still resilient. They believe in the armed forces of Ukraine, and they see that the state supports them with the humanitarian aid, with the repairs on the different supply systems. We know that after the explosion at Kakhovka HPP dam, when the people were evacuated on boats, Russian occupiers shelled those boats. During demining, do you face a lot of shelling? Yes, and I can tell only about the Kherson region. And there was a case when it was the attack was in the Zaporizhzhia direction. They attacked with the drone, and well, lucky that only vehicle was damaged. Do you have any cases when pyrotechnicians were killed? Yes, on the 6th of May, pyrotechnicians from the Kherson region were shelled. They were in a special place. just to take ammunition for further destruction. And when they were on duty, they were shelled from the long-range artillery, and the group of 6 people was killed. 2 persons were heavily injured and referred to a hospital. Do you have the other killed pyrotechnicians from Odesa over this time? Yes, unfortunately, December last year, Sviatoslav Dodon, a pyrotechnician from Odessa, he was in Snegurivka. Yes, I was responsible for calculations at that moment. That was the 3rd day after the occupation of Snegurivka. We arrived there to demine everything, and we were responsible for cleaning up roads. And we worked in one of the previously defined areas. We checked everyone. We reported that everything is fine. We drove along the road, and then our pyrotechnicians, they just follow us, and this sapper, Yaroslav Dodon, he was killed, and another person was injured. So at the moment, there is 1 person that have been killed and 1 person that has been injured. That was in December. And we have also information. Sviatoslav was born in a village in the Tambonarsky Rayon, and now the street where he used to live is named after him, Sviatoslav Dodon. Unfortunately, that will not return him to his family, but at least his name will be remembered. And unfortunately, the memory of our heroes is kept in the name of the streets. Oleksandr, what is the near to perfect conditions for demining? Because the winter is coming, and as far as I understand, that will make the process more difficult. And the weather conditions can be different, but our task is to ensure safety of ourselves and the people living on the territories where we work. And so, but we continue our activities despite the weather, for people to safely come back to their homes. But is it more difficult to find mines under snow? Yes, of course. And it is more difficult to work during the when it is autumn, when everything is covered by fallen leaves. It is more difficult to work in spring because everything is covered by high grass. The situations are different depending on the season. But we were trained, this is our work, and we just continue our work despite weather conditions. 2 locals help you. They thank us. They just grateful to us, and this is enough to us. Their smiles encourage us. We understand that we do some useful work to help those people, and this is our contribution to the work. And this is not a small contribution, this is big contribution. It's just that our pyrotechnicians are very modest. Do they report a lot possible mines? In Kherson Oblast, we have tasks as for demining, but we also receive information from people who find explosive devices in their homes, in yards, in their gardens. People come back to the liberated territories, or they resettle from more dangerous places, and they find explosive devices all the time. And the shelling continues. It never stops. and we can just demine territory, but in 3 or 4 days it can be contaminated again with explosive devices. So you need to repeat your work. Yes, we need to examine the territory and to demine and clean up the territory. This is our work. Maryna, can you tell us how foreign allies support us, especially with the equipment? That was before the war, but during the war, a lot of international partners support us. There is a lot of humanitarian aid, and this is not only about pyrotechnicians only, but the whole security service. And in Odesa Oblast, we received a lot of equipment from other countries, mostly from Poland and Germany, but a lot of other countries supported us as well. As for pyrotechnicians, we receive support all the time. Ukraine is one of the most mined countries in the world now, and everyone understands that this is the problem not only for our country, but for the whole world. And that's why civilized world supports us a lot. And this is continuous support. We have questions from our colleagues online. Do you find projectiles from other countries like China and Iran? Do you find projectiles from other countries, China or Iran? No, we find only projectiles, explosive devices from the aggressor country, which is the Russian Federation. And this is the question perhaps to both of you. And now everyone is thinking about how to speed up the demining process, because it can take decades, and the latest assessment shows that it can take up to 15 years to demine in Kherson Oblast. But now Oleksandr says that they have to demine territory several times. Do you have any plans how to accelerate the process? The leadership of the country will be able to assess the situation only after full liberation of our territories. When there will be no occupiers in our country, when they stop shelling. Only after that, we will be able to assess how much time will be needed for the demining of our territory. Now it is very difficult to make any forecasts, especially because of the constant shelling. The territory gets contaminated, even if we cleared it up before. Is it possible to use some modern tools, some modern methods or robots? We are now receiving from our foreign colleagues the demining robots that really support a lot our sappers. But this is more for open territories. Yes, this equipment cannot work that efficient like in forests. They are better used on the open fields. So when we know that they are dangerous territory, we use special machinery there, which are operated remotely by sappers, and such equipment help us to demine territories, especially those fields for agrarians. When such device finds a mine, what happens next? With the help of special rotors, hammers, these explosive devices are destroyed and detonated, and this machinery can tolerate such explosion, after detonation, and they can be easily repaired as well. So we can say that such equipment is left undamaged. How much does it cost? And we have different modifications from different countries. There are different technical and tactical characteristics for such devices, so their price can vary because there are different models. We cannot name specific prices now. But I would like to add that such equipment can be used on the open territories because if there are mined forests or houses and beaches, this can be demined only with the help of people. We cannot rely on robots here. And as for the time needed to demine Ukraine, we still can find projectiles and explosive devices from the Second and the First World Wars. And only after our victory, and I'm sure that we will be victorious, we'll be able to assess the whole scale, the territories, and I think that it will take decades. And I cannot refrain from asking, attacks on Odesa. We can see increased attacks in our oblast, especially the southern part of our region. What are the conditions of your work now? They are always difficult for us, for rescuers. This is our front line. It is very difficult, but we continue our work. There are a lot of shelling, provoking fires, and almost every night now our rescuers, fire brigades, they liquidate fires. And they try to do it as fast as possible to save people around. And there are the cases when after the shelling, rescuers arrive to the place, and there's a second wave of attacks, and the rescuers can hide, but equipment is destroyed. Yes, we have such cases in Odesa region when the equipment was destroyed. And you're now asking about Odesa region, but I can share information about other regions as well, including Kherson Oblast. There are the cases of the targeted attack on the rescuers and fire brigades, on the places where the emergency service officers work, and we understand that we are never safe. There are some rules, some procedures. If there is an air raid alert when fire brigades put out fire, they need to go to a shelter and only then continue their work after the air alert is over. We are well aware about such situations, so about the second wave of shelling, and we know that they target our officers as well. Yes, they do this on purpose. And how many equipment has been destroyed in Odesa region? Not that much, and that was Belgorod-Dnestrovsky Rayon, and in Kherson and other regions, equipment was destroyed. When the Kherson was liberated, nothing was left there because occupiers, they took everything, and if they could not take something, they destroyed it. And then our foreign partners and the state supported the Kherson region, and garrisons, they just shared their equipment. And we just provided also our equipment to other units, and it was destroyed. And after the explosion at the Kakhovska HPP, our rescuers worked there. They were shelled, and the car was damaged, but not fully destroyed. Do you have anything you need, at least in the Odesa region? Yes, we have everything, equipment, machinery, tools, devices. We have enough people. And if something happens, nowadays we have enough people to deal with the situation. And we have now a problem which is not related to the topic of this briefing, but we have a lot of fires of dried plants, and the scale is very large. And these fires are caused by people who want to destroy some grass, or they can just go in their car and just throw away pots, causing fires. And we understand that to put out that fire, we need to use people, equipment. And for example, when a unit comes from the city or from the closest settlement to put out the fire in a field, there is no water source, and the tank of the fire engine is the capacity is limited, and we could have 40 fires during one day, and we need to use at least one unit to put out the fire. And in this case, if there is shelling, those people who could deal with the consequences of that shelling, they are just involved in putting fire in the field caused by people. And now I would like to call on everyone, please do not put on fire dried grass and plants, because you distract attention of our units that could save your life. How many hectares just have been destroyed because of the fire during this period, summer? I do not know the general number, but every day 20-30 hectares are under fire. We need to calculate how many hectares have been destroyed since summer, but we know that the scale is huge. And as for the general statistics, how many mines do you find every week? Do you ask about the occupied territories or on the territory of the Odesa region? No, Kherson and Donetsk regions. In the Kherson region, we work 24/7. We are always ready, and we also perform our duties. And from 7 a.m. To 6 or 7 p.m. But if it's needed, we just can work overtime. How many mines do you find every day? The cases are different. We can find 100 to 200 mines or 2-3 mines a day. And it depends on the territory, on the plants, grass, weeds. For example, it's the grass or weed is tall as people. It is very difficult to work there. It is very difficult to use our devices. So it depends on the territory. So don't you have any plan for a day? No, we cannot have any plans that we need to cover like 2-3 hectares per day. So the head of the team responsible for calculation makes a decision in every single case. So we cannot speed up our work. So we have some specific areas, and on the spot, in the field, we make a decision. And we report to other units, so we make a common decision for a specific area. So, and we can also make decision if we can use some robots or sappers. So we make a decision on the spot. And how many kilometers or meters do you cover per day? On average, according to our calculations, 300-400 square meters. And we're successful if we can cover such area, but sometimes we can cover 100 square kilometers. It depends on the number of explosive devices on the place. Thank you very much for joining us today. We had with us Maryna Martynenko, Oleksandr Slobodianiuk. In our media center, Ukraine, Odessa, we discussed demining of Kherson and Donetsk oblasts. And this is all for today.